Greetings, my friends, and welcome to Squarebenders and Canebenders, a new way to cane. You know, I think you'll really like making angles with the Squarebenders, and I'm going to start today with my souffle. I'm using royal and sea glass and igloo and poppy seed. And these four colors will make some really pretty blends. And we'll use our Squarebenders to make some indentations in them, kind of make some new shapes, and bring some more angularity to the cane. Now you know I like my elliptical shapes, all my roundness and curviness, and so I'm going to use the Canebenders as well. And you can kind of see how they work together. But you know, this is going to lend itself to your kind of design, the kind of canes that you're wanting to make. And don't forget, you can also use this with extruded pieces. I think they'd be great with extruded squares, extruded triangles. But we're not going to do that today. We're going to concentrate on something pretty simple. The way I prepare my clay is always about the same thing. You know, I open it up and make it into some slices. And this may be just so elementary to you, but you know, you guys have been asking me to leave a little bit more detail in here, and I'm really trying to do that for you. So I get them out and I make them into these kind of little things. And I just roll over them. I'm just using my 3/4 inch round cane bender. You can use any of your round rollers or whatever you like to use. Brayers are good. And I'm going to do the same thing with all the colors that I'm planning to use right now to make my blends. So I've got a motorized pasta machine off out of the frame, and that's why I'm narrating this the way I am today, so you don't have to hear that motor, okay? So I just make a couple of, you know, fairly rough pieces, and they're going to be as triangular as we need them to be, and I'll show you what I mean. I don't agonize anymore over getting these perfect rectangles and then getting these perfect triangles out of them, because it's just really boring. I don't like to do it. So what I do now is I just throw them together, because you know, clay conditioning is not important when you're going to make blends. Okay, all you got to do is get them in there and get them started, and they're going to be just as pretty as they would have been if you'd gone to a lot more trouble. So you know, I learned that the hard way. I just thought I'd pass it on to you. So I'm throwing it in, patching it in, making it fairly symmetrical enough, because as you know, they're going to squeeze out, they're going to do all the crazy things that Skinner blends do. So you know, why agonize over it? So that's been through a couple times, and I'm just stretching it. This is that souffle, you know, it's really nice for stretching. It doesn't tear or break or stretch too much. It's got kind of a, I don't know, kind of a suede kind of feel to it. It's kind of a dry feeling clay, and it feels really nice. It's not as, you know, oily as some clays are sometimes. So you see that the blend is coming along just fine, you know, and I didn't really do anything special to make it come out any special way. So I like my blends a little rough. I don't like them to be too blended. I like them to be a little bit more on the striated side. So I'm going to take that blend the way it is now, and I'm going to make it into a longer thin strip. And a lot of you had questions about this. You were kind of struggling with it sometimes. I know what you mean. But see, if I put it down in this direction after I folded it, I've already got a longer strip. If I were to fold it inward again, you know, obviously I'd have even a longer strip. So take the shape that you have and start bringing it to the shape that you want, you know. So see, now it's not wide anymore. And that's just really easy to do. And I'm going to make myself a little fan folded piece here. And we're going to make one out of the purple and white blend, just the same. And believe me, they turn out pretty close to the exact same size, because when you do them this way, you know, they turn out symmetrical. So I'm going to fold this up a little bit. I'm going to put it through one more time, and then I'm going to make my fan fold. So you see that direction up and down. So that's nice and long. That gives me lots of gradation of color. It really didn't take very long. This is real time. And I'm going to go forward and backward. So that's like fan fold is like accordion, you know, you probably do it all the time. when I have that compressed to my liking, I'll make it into a little cube, and I will do the same exact thing with the purple and white. So I return to you with two strips that I made out of the remaining sea glass and royal, and I'm making a little bit of black to make a snake with. And I'm going to roll it up into a snake. You know, whenever I do them, I always make my snakes with a nice even sheet. And you know, you'd be surprised how much easier it is to make a snake like that. You know, when you take a wad of clay in your hands and start rubbing it between your palms and hoping for an even snake, you know, that's not very easy to do. So I just take an even sheet, and guess what I get? You know, an even snake. Thank goodness. And I make it a little bit smaller, and I'm going to use that for a little square that I'm going to drop in later, but I'm just preparing that now because, you know, everything's out, and it's a lot more fun to build stuff when you got all these pieces. So I've got my little scraps, I've got my cubes, and I'm going to stick these together, and we'll get busy using the other pieces that we made along the way. I'm just making sure I have a good bond. I've got the light parts together at the top, but you know, you could do that all kinds of ways, couldn't you? You know, you could have them alternated so one top is light and one top is dark, and there's just a lot of neat things you could do. So I'll leave that up to you. And this is going to bring us to the part where we're going to use our largest or 3/4 inch Squarebender. And I'm going to take it and I'm going to sink it in that center spot. And it's really nice that it's got a see-through, you know, surface in it. I don't like to use things I can't see through, because see, right now I'm really wanting to get pretty even with that corner down into the two colors. And I'm going to trim that off. There's a little black spot there, you know, it's driving me crazy. But anyway, I'm going to roll it over, and I'm going to trim the edges in a second, after I'm sure I have a nice even part on each side that I can use later on to put that other piece in. Now we trim. There we go, and just take that off. You know, a lot of over trimming takes place in caning. You know, you cut it before you need to, but with these, you know, you kind of need to see what you're doing. So with this sheet, you see I've kind of flopped it on there. That's on a number 4 setting. It's nice and thin and flexible, but it's really strong too. And I'm going to give it a little bit of slack so that I can take my Squarebender and I can kind of poke it down in there. So now I've lined that V shape the way I wanted to with the black. Now when you do that part, you press it down in there like that. Pull it up gently, because, you know, I don't know what clay you're using, but, you know, sometimes you can end up with, you know, kind of a serious tearing problem. You know, it sticks to your rods. So I pressed it down into that V using the square side, and now I've got a nice distinct shape that I want to get. See? And you know, I'm not going to keep that exact square in there probably by the time I manipulate it a lot, but it wouldn't be there at all if it weren't for it being there in the first place. So you make that shape and then you let it morph as you change the shape of the cane. You'll be seeing that in a sec. So I'm going to make some more material. This is going to be a nice little kind of stripe piece. I'm using the real thin black to give it interest and creating a little stack. You don't need a lot of something like this, because all it has to do is fit in that little square channel that you've got there. So let's see, I stacked it up. The souffle doesn't stick to each other so much either, so you know, I don't have to be so careful when I'm creating these stacks. You know, I don't have to say, oh no, it's stuck on there forever. You know, I can kind of pile it up and cut it and then peel it back off. So I like that relative dryness of it. So I've got that little thing. It's really neat looking. From my side, you'll see it in a second. You know, that camera's up high so you can see everything, but there we go. And so now you can see it a little bit better. And we're going to pop it in. And now you say to yourself, Pandora, you know, what do we do? Fill in both sides, blah, blah. Well, I'll tell you, the whole idea of symmetry is very misunderstood, because right now I don't care about symmetry. That doesn't matter to me. Right now, I care about getting designs and elements that are varied, okay? That I want to see, because symmetry is going to come after we cut it and put it together. So sometimes that's hard to conceptualize. You're thinking, I've got to make the same shape going in each direction. But you see here, you don't have to do that. Go ahead and have at it and have fun with your original piece. Build it up the way you want to. And then when you reduce and cut it, you're going to get all the symmetry you want out of it, okay? So I just wanted that wave effect, and I'm going to add some purple to this now. I'm going to make some impressions with my little square bender down at the edge there. And we're just starting to really, give some character to this piece. We've got our big chunks of color, and we can't just really leave them like that. We want to start breaking them up, and that's what we're doing now. Going to throw another black line in there. I do that a lot. You've seen it in my other videos. But that has a lot to do with the detail that people end up liking in your cane, those black lines or your dark line, whatever the contrast is, whether you're going to use dark or light, that could be a white line, but it's still going to be dividing one part from another and creating another place for your eye to go. I'm making sure that that square is settled in there really well, and I'll get ready to put something in it. I'm making the square out of that snake. It's a really nice way to make a square piece like this, because you know how hard it is to pinch up the edges. And I reduced it, dropped it in that space that I made. I'm sorry that part's short. I had a little loss of footage there. So I'm bringing up that edge, and I'm starting to get into the home stretch of having it be triangular. This little jelly roll is going to go in there. When you're adding these little elements, just, make sure you retain a little bit of contrast. This cane isn't about tons of contrast, but just make sure that you can make small elements like this without them disappearing on you. And I'm just going to roll it up, very simple jelly roll, and I'll cut a beveled edge on it so that it doesn't have a stop and start on the color. And you'll see that when you do it that way, you close it, it looks like one color on the outside without any kind of line. I reduced it and made it triangular, and I'm going to drop it into that last space, which is the shape I have to fill. Flip it over, trim it. There you go. The outer edge of this, the edge that's still a straight line, I haven't done too much with. I want to create a V shape in there, a half triangle. I'm going to do it with some of this leftover clay that I have blended. So those two little balls of the white and sea glass and the white and royal, I just blended them, and I'm going to make a piece to go in the dent I've made. But see how it's triangular? That's why I haven't made triangular canes yet. The Canebenders, I mean. Because, really, you've got your squares, and they're making some nice triangles. So if you guys end up wanting that, just let me know, and I'll get them made for you. But your squares really work well to make those triangular indentations. So, I don't see why you should have to buy something else. Now, on this one, see, it's just another fan fold. You see how different it looks with that thin sheet of number 5 black in it. And this fan fold will be made into a piece to fit in that channel that we have left. That's really the last element. None of these elements have been very complex in themselves. So that one's getting triangular. I'm going to reduce it. And I'm showing a little bit of cane reduction, but that can really get boring. And get it the right size to put in that spot. And how much I need of it. And that's how much I will make. Trim it up, and we'll be dropping it in. And I see that I don't want it that way. I almost want it that way, but I want it that way. Now I can close this up. And really we have all kinds of stuff going on here, you know. Just going to bend the little bit around the top and the back. Just close the gap. Now see, if you wanted to, you could add all kinds of other things in there, because by the time we make this into the right type of triangle, it really won't matter what we put in it, you know. The clay is not the boss of us. We're the boss of the clay, and when we decide it's going to be a triangle, it is. And you know, that's something most people, I think, don't do. I think they feel they have to build the shape that they're going to end up with, but I don't think you have to. I think it can be whatever you want it to be. So I like the colors. I like the proportion. I don't feel a need to make any more changes to it or dents in it. And now I'm going to reduce it down to a 1-inch triangle. So I've cut this, just cut the edge off of it. I'm putting these two pieces together to make into some square material, which you can see in my other video. I'll give you a link. Now we flatten these into squares. Reduced, cut it in half. And there it is a square in the center there. And a couple of kaleidoscopes. A little bit of Natasha with the little monster over there. And you know, you can do whatever you want with this cane. I'm wanting to make a set of graduated size beads. So I'll be taking it down a little smaller and doing a lot of things with it. And I'll post pictures of it, if you like, on Facebook. And I'll leave a link down there if you want to come and friend me on Facebook if you haven't already. Well, thank you. I hope you've enjoyed this, and I hope you enjoy your Squarebenders. Bye-bye.